because I'm trying to jot down. You're saying significant stuff, and I want to make sure that I've captured it. But anyway, so I agree completely. And the neat thing of one of the things we are our synopsis is to include all generations so that other generations start talking to other eras and compare, what they went through. And it's really not that different, exactly what you just said, that all these different conflicts, but we're still doing the same thing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
We say to our kids, when you're going to learn, we should say that to our government, when are you going to learn?
Right.
Well, this lady is, I'm on a iPad at the same time or with you here. I want to try to find her name.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you can send it to me like like we did before, where you sent me the list of the books and stuff, just whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. But her name is Kelly Borlaug, and she came and gave a speech at our Armistice Day event 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
By Zoom. Unfortunately, she came in by Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been talking to her off and on and exchanging emails. I really think, she tried to. Now they have what they call a moral injury workshop in some of the VAs where they're trying to, the vets have come back and they've been drugged and they've been consoled in all those different ways they try to help them. But many of them, but when you start dealing with their moral injury, and the soldiers are allowed to tell the real story, the true story of what happened, it really changes things. So maybe during May, but the other thing that you got to be aware of, Penny, and you probably already are, unless women come up quicker than men, we are finding that the Iraqi, Afghan, Sudan veterans are hiding. They're not even admitting they're veterans in many ways. But that same thing happened to Vietnam vets. I mean, people came home and they were treated so badly they just went into the closet, so to speak, and it was
about that, and I think the perception is it takes so long to process that it's basically taking 50 years for the Vietnam veterans to actually talk now, and so maybe that's why those folks.
Oh no, it's just think of. I didn't have this problem, but I have buddies. They came home. They probably had used drugs in Vietnam. They came home, treated like shit, sometimes by their family, but often by the community. But I'm surprised sometimes that some of them were treated by their family. I mean, it took a while for their families to come around also.
Mm-hmm.
And then they drank, and then they lost a job, and they probably lost a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
They lost relationships, sometimes even with their loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 1990, the Vietnam vets started to, if they hadn't died already, started to wake up. And that's the story of, oh God, 5, 6 of my buddies. It doesn't always follow the same pattern, but it's all those things. And of course, now they are really pissed off and to what happened. And as I often say to the guys I go and have coffee with 3, 4 times a week, somebody asked me one day, "Where were you today?" And I said I was in Vietnam. Because just about every day something comes up about Vietnam, or something comes up about what happened here.
Okay,
it's kind of strange. You were where were you in? I can't remember where your service was?
So I started in 1975, so right at the end of Vietnam, but
Oh yeah.
I was legally in, the way that they break it up. And then I ultimately was, so a lot of Cold War, Desert Storm, Desert Shield is the war I was in.
Oh, were you over there?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lot of Agent Orange there, wasn't there?
It's a different kind of chemicals, but yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to marry a guy came to me, he and his girlfriend in Detroit, and they wanted me, they were going to get married. And this guy was really strange. The woman did all the talking, which is not is not always uncommon. But I finally asked him what's up, and he said he had been where you were, and that he had been affected by chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I told him that, I said, I'll marry you only if you promise to go to the VA,
Okay.
because otherwise, he wouldn't talk. You know what I mean? He just shut down, and God, it's, you know,
Yep. And I think the thing that with Desert Storm and Desert Shield is because of the internet, we were able to talk to one another. And so we found out that a lot of us were sick. Whereas a lot of Vietnam, everybody went their own separate ways and nobody
yep,
really
yep,
realized
yep.
that something was going on.
I
So,
think that crazy TV show, what was it? About it was actually about South Korea, but it was really about
oh,
Vietnam.
MASH.
Yeah,
MASH.
I think MASH brought a lot of guys and gals out of the woods.
Yeah. And China Beach.
Yep, yeah, yep, yep. It was,
Absolutely.
yeah. By the way, there's really a good movie out. You maybe have already seen it. Last Flag Flying.
No, I haven't.
Oh God, that's
What's it
powerful.
called? Last what?
Last Flag Flying.
Oh, okay.
I think, God, it's either Max or, well, it's either Max, Amazon, or
Yeah. Okay.
what's
I'll
the
find.
other? Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
And have you seen the one, This Is Not a War Story?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yes. I actually, she had already put it all together and I was one of the first people that saw it before she asked for recommendations on what should be changed or anything before it
Oh,
went.
really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I thought that was really good.
Yep. Yep.
I actually purchased a CD of it because if anybody ever asked me talk to us about the war, I think I would show that movie
That
or the greatest beer run ever, which is
I
really,
love that. And
yeah.
those guys are
I had a
real.
friend who went to a show in New York, and the guys who were in that movie or about
Yeah.
that movie were there. They're
Yeah.
still living, most of them.
Yeah. 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 Uh, so yeah, the lady for the This Is Not a War Story, Talia, I've contacted her, and because they now stream it and you can buy it so that it's available for us to like have it presented at the Legion or something, and or buy the CD like you did. But and then she's one of the speakers that are willing to come and chat with us.
Oh,
And then the other
really?
thing is, so the paper making is in New Jersey that she wrote about, and I actually just today asked Frontline Paper to see if we might be able to get them to come here. So
Yeah, I understand that's I have been told that there's a project here in Milwaukee, but we've not been able to find it where they're doing that same thing.
I might be able to track it down for you because there's different. What happens is actually, who can help you out is Lavella. It turns
Oh,
out that, so they how people start something and then they have a little fight and then they make their own organization, and turns
yeah,
out
right, right.
all these, I was reading today some writings, and Lavella's in there, and Kevin from Warrior Writers, who were originally with Frontline Paper.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
So, and then anyway, so but there's different organizations that do use the fatigues and make paper, and then ultimately we're writers, so we would like.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've in Arts for Vets we've made paper before, but it's not. We don't have the right machine to tear the fatigues, and and I've actually seen it where like nurses use their scrubs and stuff, so they use it for whatever needs to be processed,
Oh, right.
right? So anyway, yes. So that's one of the
Well, I think most of the people in that movie were vets, weren't they?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yes. Hmm.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So and that's universal. I mean, it doesn't matter what your war you were in.
Yeah,
It's
right.
all relevant.
Oh boy, I don't even know where my stuff went. I moved to Japan, and a lot of stuff went in a barn in Ohio where my first wife. A lot of our stuff went there, and I never even went back there and got stuff. So I don't know what.
Oh, okay. So how is your warrior writer going?
Very well,
Good.
very well. We have about 10 or 12 that are on our email list. We send out the prompt before uh, the Thursday night before, and we have pretty good response. I don't have warrior writers are supposed to assign the other leader each time, but that hasn't worked out very well. I mean, people just are, so the younger veterans are still working.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard for them to make that. But Eric always steps in and helps me, and
Hmm. Yeah.
we're doing well. I mean, and we I have a really good bunch of people. It's that marathon, that this book center here in town does a marathon every year, and now it's all virtual. So they've given us an hour, and I think we have about 10 or 12 people reading
Okay.
from
Super.
all over, mainly the East Coast, but most of the guys are from here. But yeah, it's going pretty well. I mean, I don't know about Warrior Writers. I think our workshop and one other might be the only ones that are on Zoom now. I think they've really gone back to
Yeah. Good.
the local groups, I think.
Good. So one of the other things, a couple other things that I've thought about doing. So I'm basically building a team for different people to do different things, but of course, interviewing people is huge. And then ultimately, if they want to be recorded, or actually we're wanting it to go anywhere further than us having a conversation, is it can actually be put in the Library of Congress, or in our case, there's a New York State Military Museum that their story could be in. But the other thing is, by listening to other people tell their story, ultimately we have a goal of creating our own drama and pulling from these stories, and the words are the veterans that we're talking to, and they're actually going to get credit for it too. If, for instance, if I was at a fireside chat, that's one of the things that we do here, and it's a bunch of Vietnam veterans, and one of them said, we were 18-year-olds killing 18-year-olds. I intend to use that quote, and he's going to get credit for it on the stage. You know what I mean? He's going to be like in the bill. And then the other thing is,
Well,
you already mentioned, he's one of the other people around the circle. He said, can we tell our story and you're not going to change it? Are you going to censor what we say? And no, we're not.
yeah, but let me tell you, you should look up Feast of Crispin. They might have a website. I'm not sure if they do. Milwaukee, uh, and talk to Jim. I'm trying to think. Remind me. I will send you the emails for he and his wife. Now his wife is battling breast cancer right now, but she's a real, I think, the real thinker behind this whole thing, and she's a psychologist. But yeah, let me tell you what happened to us. And I don't know if you've watched the one that we were
I
in
haven't done it
here.
completely. I haven't
Okay,
sat
it's
down, you know.
well, it's hard. It's actually hard to watch completely, I'll tell you. But anyways, when we first got together the first day, he recorded all our stories. So then they went home and typed them up.
Right.
And then they came back to us. And all of a sudden it struck him. How can we ask you to memorize your story? So one of the things you might want to think about when you do the drama, and it might be, you could do it. We had one guy that his story was so strong, he didn't want to be on a stage. And so they had a video of him telling his story with his dog. Uh,
That's one of the things we're planning on, having it pre-recorded possibly, because no,
yeah,
I said,
because
I,
because
I,
if you type up their stories, it'll be different. Because if I tell you my story this afternoon, which won't take very long, uh, I will tell it one way today, and if you ask me
right.
next year to tell it again, you'll say, Bob, you left something out, or
Yeah. That,
I mean, and so I think it would be really fun to have that, but then you'd have voices from all over the country as
yes.
part of that drama, and
Yes.
I think what you can learn from this Feast of Crispin is how they put together that play. Now, what they did is we just happened to have a famous woman photographer from Shorewood, which is the first little suburb north of Milwaukee. She was the first woman journalist or photographer killed in Vietnam. She's very famous. She took Second World War, Korea. I mean, she's been all over the world and thinking. And so one of the veterans, a woman, played that role. And so it was a kind of around that, and then we had a Shakespearean actor, a guy that actually is a Shakespearean actor. There was because this Feast of Crispin comes from one of
Right.
Shakespeare's
Shakespeare.
plays.
Right. Yes. Huh?
So I think you might learn something from them, how to put it together,
Yep.
and they might even help you. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, because this lady has been ill and she was off getting a degree, doctor's degree or something. Things have kind of slowed down here for Feast of Crispin, but I'm sure we'll continue in the future. But that's the only advice I would tell you, is to let the guys tell their story.
Yeah, I definitely said, like, for instance, if I was to tell my story, I couldn't recite it. I already
No,
warned him
no,
straight up. There's no way.
no, no,
And
no.
he said he actually liked the idea that it was already pre-recorded with pictures behind or something, or
Yeah.
moving around where they can still be on stage. But he liked that idea. So we have a director
Okay, good.
from Skidmore College. It's a private college here in Saratoga.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, so the other thing we're thinking about doing is, um, I've been reading other people's writing, and I think I've asked you now that you got all these books, um, but I have access to other people's writings, or I know writers, and so a lot of them are already written stories about Vietnam. And so what I was thinking about doing was an exchange of stories. So I might give, say, an Iraqi freedom veteran a story from Vietnam, and have them do an exchange and have them do a reflection on their stories.
Right.
And because we want everybody um, to be heard, basically. Oh, one of the other
Right.
things that at the fireside chat, you said exactly the same thing. It's so wonderful to hear it reiterated, because there was a Vietnam veteran that says, I don't want you to do anything for me. This is what I want. He said, I want you to he said, I've already ruined my life. I already drank. I don't have a liver. I already lost my wife. I lost my children. They all hate me. I've already ruined my life. I want you to help the returning Iraqi freedom veteran.
Yeah.
And that you said exactly the same thing.
Yeah. That's,
So that's phenomenal. I mean,
yeah.
it is. I mean, I think that that's really important. If we can just
Yeah.
portray that, or as we're talking to other veterans, as I'm talking to other veterans and this team, this collective team that I'm.
Have I'm sure you've been in touch with Sarah Bloom, have you? Or
Yes, yes.
yeah, because she continues to write stuff, and her book is close to coming out. Her second book. She would
Well, I
be.
hope it does because she doesn't really want to talk anything about the second book. I've got her first book. Um, but
That's a tough read.
yeah.
I had to read that 10 pages at a time. I couldn't sit down and read. It was really
One of the things
hard.
we're actually going to do, so we're going to have the miniature, it's a miniature wall. It's actually going to be in a building. The wall is
Yeah.
coming. And but we also have portrait. There was 8 women nurses killed in Vietnam and they're on the wall. And so I would very much like to have um Sarah be part of that in some way, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yes, I'm in
Um,
communication with her.
just a minute. I think I need to go. I have to be at my
Oh, sure,
therapist. But let's do it again, okay?
sure, absolutely.
No,
Whenever you're
let me know when you want to do it. So, okay.
okay, bye bye.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's
Oh, it's
3:30.
no
I got
problem.
to get
It's no
going.
problem.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Bye.